What is going on, guys? Welcome to the Buckhouse Podcast. I am your solo host today, Benjamin Buckhouse. Johnathan and I did film a whole podcast for this episode, episode 17, and it just didn't really work out. If you don't know, my co-host, Johnathan Buckhouse, my brother, he is a snowboarding YouTuber, and right now he is in Texas visiting his in-laws, and it was kind of impromptu. It's kind of an impromptu decision. And so he brought what he could, but it's just not the perfect stream setup. We tried doing it, and he's in Texas. He had a lot of technical difficulties with like his camera overheating and also just like the noise. He's kind of in this like farm area. It was kind of crazy. It was a little bit all over the place. We just decided that we want to keep our quality a little bit higher. And so we decided not to make a video or not to post that. It's a little bit all over the place. I'll show you some snippets right now.
I'm in Kerrville, Texas, like literally it's almost in the middle of Texas. It's hot. Yeah, I'm outside. Sorry about that, guys. My camera is either overheating on the Texas heat or something, but it keeps turning off on me.
So based off of hearing all of that, I'm sure that you guys can understand kind of why we made the decision to not go through with this. So anyways, it's just going to be me today kind of explaining that. If you want to hear some of our podcasts, though, we do have some early on episodes that don't have as much love. I'm going to go ahead and pull them up real fast. Episodes 2 and episodes 5 have under 70 views on them. So if you missed one of those episodes, I'll have them linked up here and everything like that. If you missed those episodes and if you want to hear our episode today, I'd highly encourage you to go check those ones out or any of our previous episodes that you may have missed. But for today, it's just going to be me. I decided that I kind of wanted to do like a little mini segment where I just talk about what's going on right now, talk about what I'm working on, just real. We don't have a theme to our podcast, which is something I love. It's more so that it's just my brother and I talking about things that we like, right? We like to snowboard. We like to play video games. We like football. We like to read motivational stuff. So we just talk about that type of stuff here. We talk about marriage advice. We talk about a lot of stuff. But if I could pin our podcast as something, it's kind of like a very real and very motivational podcast, as in we talk about our trials and tribulations, but we also talk about what we're working on and how things that have worked for us. And we talk about just things here and there about how to just overall better our lives. And so today I'm going to take the time to do that with you guys. This wasn't fully planned. We made the decision this morning, and I kind of was like, you know what? This will be fun. So something I would like to talk about today is playing the long game, right? Playing the long game. And this is something that Johnathan and I have touched on a lot with the current situation that social media brings. What is that current situation, you may ask? Short form content and overall just social media as a whole, and how kind of toxic it is for our brains. How it ruins our dopamine sensors. It ruins a lot of stuff. It really puts us in a situation where we constantly want instant gratification. And this last weekend, I very much struggled with that. This last weekend, my wife and I went to go house sit for my mother-in-law up in Denver. So I was up in Denver for the weekend. She's got a beautiful home with 2 dogs, and Kirsty and I have our 3 dogs. So we had 5 dogs in the house. My wife had to work on Friday. I did not. And then we had Saturday, Sunday together. But I was super out of my element. I didn't have my office set up. I didn't have things I just didn't have stuff with me. Now I did bring, I brought 2 books. I brought my Switch. I brought earbuds, and I brought my phone, right? That's pretty much all that I brought. Looking back at it, I really do want to get into the gym. That is something we talk a lot about in this podcast. So if you're new here to this specific episode, I'm just going to kind of graze past it, but I do really want to start going to the gym, and there was no excuse for me not to do it. But I wasn't really thinking about it. So I don't have a gym membership. So I wasn't really ready to go to any gym up in there because there wasn't a gym for me to go to without getting a membership. But also I didn't even pack any shoes or like running shoes or shorts or anything like that. So I was like, I could go for a run, but I was like, and I've got Crocs. I'm not going to go for a run in Crocs type of thing. So I was pretty limited on what I could do while up up in Denver. But my favorite game, Halo, boop, this guy, Halo, they had one of their tournaments. They had their Atlanta HCS tournament over the weekend, and whenever that happens, I spend a good portion of my weekend watching that. So that's kind of like a Super Bowl event for video gaming, but it happens a couple times throughout the year. So it sounds weird to call it like a Super Bowl event, but it's a tournament in which people like they want to win that. It matters to win that, right? And then it does lead up to a world championship at the end of the year, which is the actual Super Bowl, but is a big deal. It's as big deal. It's like the playoffs, right? It's like every weekend or every event is like you're watching the playoffs. So it's a big deal to me. I spend a lot of time watching it. That's where I want my career to go in. That's the path I want it to go in. And so I'm immersing myself in that. And all weekend I was doing pretty much two things. I would say three things. I was spending time with my wife, which did involve watching some TV, going to the pool, and just overall being with my wife. And then I watched a lot of Twitch and YouTube of the streams. So I was watching the streams of the Halo tournament. That's pretty much all I did all weekend. And then I scrolled through Twitter because Twitter is a very good avenue for gamers to kind of get updates on everything. So update on other matches and other performances and players' thoughts and everything like that. So basically, I spent the entire weekend on my phone. That's basically what I'm saying. And I'm not proud of that, but like I said, I was kind of out of my element. I didn't have my computer to work on it. I could have brought my computer, but it was going to be a bigger headache than it would have been a reward. And so my wife and I both just decided not to do that. So no computer, couldn't get any work done. So I was like, well, I could just kind of chill on my phone. And I did make actually a video on my phone. So I did do some stuff. But what I'm getting at is I spent like 3 days just on my phone and glued to a TV, and I felt terrible. And then Sunday night when I got home, I still caught myself just in that habit and that routine of just being on my phone. I just kept wanting to scroll more. That's what I wanted to do, just scroll more. And I'm still feeling that on this Monday. So I'm all over the place, but I've noticed that I struggle with that stuff a lot. I struggle with that when it comes to jobs. Great example of that is like Best Buy. I was working at Best Buy for a while, and then COVID happened, which scared everybody. So we're all like, what are we going to do? And what I was doing at Best Buy was I was a computer sales associate. I've worked retail a lot, but not necessarily sales. The retail I worked was like warehouse type stuff. That's what Johnathan and I did together at Target. And so when it came to Best Buy, the sales aspect, like a new customer service, but that sales aspect was a new experience for me of like really understanding sales and everything. And I don't really care for it. I don't know. I give phenomenal customer service. I'm going to compliment myself here. I give phenomenal customer service, but I do not give, I'm not a great salesman. And what I mean by that is like our sales interaction is going to be really good, because I give great customer service. I'm very honest. I'm very truthful. I'm customers first for me, right? A great salesman is not that. A great salesman is somebody that gets you to buy something that you probably didn't need. But that's what makes a great salesperson, right? They upsell you. Now, I guess different people have different definitions of great salespeople. People always told me I was a great salesman because I did do well with sales, but it was because I was giving such a good customer service experience. I believe in treat others the way you want to be treated. I don't like to be nagged. I don't like to be hounded like by a salesperson, so I don't want to do that to somebody. My point of this, though, is saying that sales wasn't the best spot for me. So there was a job opportunity that opened up, and it was essentially a shift supervisor position, but also a manager position at the same time without the title of manager. It was a little all over the place. But basically, I could switch over to warehouse side of things, which is perfect for me. I'm a warehouse-minded person, so that was perfect. So I get switched over there, and it was tough. And why I say that is because I managed trucks, and I managed the shipping process, and I managed curbside pickup. So whenever you order an item to get picked up in store within an hour, you just go to the customer service area, pick it up. I was in charge of that. But also, if you ordered something to be shipped to your house, I was in charge of that. But also, all the trucks coming in, I was in charge of that. Well, this all happened right before the Christmas time. Why this is all important, okay? It's right before the Christmas time. Did have a boss, I won't mention his name, not a great boss. He was a great worker, but he wasn't a great boss, and he did have some issues, and I won't dive into that. But he was a good guy. I don't have any ill intent towards him or whatever. I'm not here to bash him. But what I'm getting at is, I know, and other people backed me up, I know that I could have done his job and more, right? I could have done his job and better, and he was failing at that. And so I was in the situation where I knew I could do my boss's job, and then right before the Christmas season, I'm getting pounded with trucks, pounded with shipping orders, pounded with curbside pickups, so it's super busy, and I'm okay with that. But my shift was, trying to remember, it was Tuesday through Saturday, so I had Sunday, Monday off, and I worked 3 to 11 p.m. every single day. 3 to 11 p.m. every single day. If I didn't work overtime, what I mean by that is, so I was scheduled to be in by 3 to 11 every single day. I closed up the building every single night. Then, if I was working overtime because we just had stuff to get done, and my store manager let me do that, I was staying till like 5 a.m. with my crew. I was staying till like 5 a.m., go to bed, wake up, and do it all again. I didn't have a life. I was kind of miserable. I was very depressed. I was kind of miserable because like that shift alone, 3 to 11, if you work that shift, you are a trooper, because that is not an easy shift to work. If you're working the overtime for that, you just don't have a life. You just don't have a life, right? So that wasn't really working for me. I went to my managers. I talked with them. I talked to my mentors. I did all this stuff. I even went to the store manager who I had a good relationship with, and I was like, I'm frustrated. This is difficult. Like, what's going on? Like, here's my frustration. And she's like, I 100% understand where you're coming from. And at the time, also money. It was like, can you give me more money? Sorry, you're actually above cap, so we can't give you any more money. So I'm like, this is frustrating. This is frustrating. And I decided to quit. I did go self-employed, which at the end of the day was probably a better experience, but let me get to it. Like 2 months after I quit, my boss got fired. So it's like, if I just waited 2 more months, I could have been promoted into that role, and my store manager would have 100%. Like, I had no doubt in my mind. She would have done that, right? And so I'm just sitting there, and I'm like, like, it's so frustrating that I get in these situations that, and this isn't the first time like that something like that has happened, but it's like I get into these situations where I'm frustrated with my job, and I go ahead and make a decision like quitting, and then something opens up. And I'm like, like, I don't have the patience. I don't have that mindset of waiting and playing that long game to get to get to where I want to go. And like I said, I did go self-employed, which I was self-employed for about like a year and a half. And then different situation happened. And then I ended up actually going back to Best Buy. So back to Best Buy. Thankful that they took me back in and everything. But it was always just like something similar happened at Target. I say something similar happened at Target, but actually I was doing the right thing at Target. I played the long game. My boss got fired at Target. I stepped into his role and started doing his job better. I had a executive store manager, assistant store manager, come up to me and say, Ben, I am sorry. And I was like, huh, what? And she goes, I'm trying to not say names, but like, your boss, while he was here, I didn't think that you were a good employee. She's like, I thought actually that you struggled in some areas, and seeing him gone and seeing the true you stand out and seeing work directly from you, it changed my perspective entirely. And I was like, that is, yes, killing it. That felt good, right? I had team working under me. I was killing it. I worked 80 hours in a week at Target. I was working my butt off. I did everything. I put it all in. I was working. I was there. I was committed. I was doing what it took. And then my manager pulled me into into his office and said, "So we hired somebody for the position that you're going for." Mind you, I was like interviewing for this and doing a bunch of stuff. I was working with a store manager to try to help me, like a different store manager to try to like coach me to do the right stuff. And then they gave it to somebody that didn't even work for Target. He worked for Lowe's. And they're like, "Oh yeah, we're going to offer you a different job or a different position with different hours." And I was just like, no, that's not how that works. Like, I was doing the work. You guys all complimented me. You guys all loved me. And then you gave it to somebody else. Like, I'm so confused. So maybe, and that was my first job outside of high school. So maybe that burned me. But I need to be the adult. I need to take accountability for my actions. And I need to make changes, right? And so, you know, I don't know if that first experience at Target is what burned me to be this way, because I haven't stayed at many jobs for that long. I can stay at a job for like about a year, and then stuff hits the fan. Now, I will say, I worked for Avis Budget for a while, and there was no real like growth opportunities there. If you did grow, they wanted you to move to a different location. I was not really willing to do that. So, also that job. If you work in rental cars, you know what I mean. Or if you've ever had a bad rental car experience, or if you've ever even just rented a car and you know what it's like, that is what you do all day, every day. As in, if you've had a bad experience with a rental car where they're like, "Oh, you ordered this truck, well, I don't have a truck," or "You ordered this SUV, well, I don't have an SUV. I can give you a minivan," or like this or that, or like, "Oh, you want a sedan because it's just you? Too bad, I only have minivans." Like, that's what you deal with every day, all day. It is exhausting. It is demoralizing. It is very difficult. So I ended up leaving that. But I'll just say it because I don't care. I'm going to rip off a Band-Aid. I did have an amazing job as a social media manager for the company that traded cards, and my managers pushed me to my limit. I couldn't do it. I actually only lasted like 3.5 months. I actually quit. Just outright quit. Never done it before, never just like quit a job or anything, but there was a lot of tension, there was a lot of difficulties, there was a lot of issues with me and my managers, and I just didn't see any potential of it changing, any movement going, no positive direction. Every advice I was ever given was bad advice, especially when it came to social media. I'm pretty knowledgeable, and I was really hoping to learn a lot from this job, and I just wasn't going to. And so I made a decision to leave. So it's like hypocritical to what I'm saying, where it's like, I want to last longer, blah, blah, blah. But it's like, no, seriously, I need to do that. I need to play the long game because, I don't know, I just start and stop so many different projects. Not the podcast, though. Still doing the podcast. Even if it's just me, I'm doing this. But it's like with even my own YouTube channel, I like start it and do well. And then it's like my job situation changes. I get out of routine. I get out of habit, and I stop doing YouTube for a while. And then I start it again. And then I stop. And then I start it. And then I stop. And it's just like I can't stay focused on something. I don't know if there's like an answer to that. I don't know if there's a way that I like, maybe it's just discipline and determination and grit. Maybe it's something like that. I do notice that I get annoyed by things, not necessarily easily, because I also don't get it. I got patience in a lot of ways. But I feel like if something, you know what I think it is? You know what I think it is, chat? And maybe you can be a part of the conversation down below. Let me know after I take a drink of this. I let my job affect my personal life to a certain extent. What I mean by that is I take home my issues when I shouldn't. Or I let it dictate my day when I shouldn't. I did notice, and this is something I'm not proud of in any way, but it's like I did notice that if my managers annoyed me, I wouldn't want to do anything when I got home. When I got home, I just wanted to kind of vent to my wife for a second, make dinner, eat the food, and just hang out with my wife. To some people, that's perfectly okay, but for somebody like myself, I'm about work. I want to work, but I don't always work, and it's a hypocritical thing. It's a difficult thing. I know I struggle in a lot of ways, one of them being ADHD. I can't really focus on a lot of stuff. So focusing on a long-term goal is difficult. But also I've dealt with depression my entire life. No, that sounds crazy to say, but quite literally since I was 8 years old, I've struggled with depression. So, I've got my ups and downs and everything like that, but it's like, I just need to, so when I'm on like a down and then work is being difficult and all that stuff, I can't just reset, refocus and just say, it is what it is. Nobody cares. Work harder. I don't know if some of you guys missed it. I did get a tattoo and it says exactly that. It says, nobody cares, work harder. It's a sentence that I love and I want to live by more and more. It's not that I haven't, it's just that I want to like have it bleed into every aspect of my life. You don't know the saying, a lot of people think it's very intense, but it's kind of not. If you know the meaning behind it, it makes a lot more sense. So a lot of people are like my sisters did not want me to get this tattoo. And to be honest, I didn't even tell them. So if you're finding out about this now, haha. But my sisters did not want me to get this tattoo for years now. Because like, but Ben, we do care. It's like, no. What this tattoo says is, for all your excuses, for all your issues, for all your complaints, anything that comes to it, nobody cares. Work harder, right? And I had that mindset for my job for the last like month and a half. So I do think that I was like, I had that for a month and a half. And like I said earlier, I was only with the job for like 3.5 months. So there was about 2 months where I was like kind of happy, kind of doing fine, dealing with it, just doing it. And the last month and a half, I've been like, whatever. Like, just, I don't care. Nobody cares. Just work harder. And what I mean by that is like my boss would tell me no, or tell me this or that, and I just strongly disagreed with it. And I'm just like, whatever. It's their company. I don't care. Nobody cares. Work harder. So for over half the job, I was like that. So I was like, maybe this isn't the right fit for me. I don't really care about the product I was selling. So maybe it wasn't the right fit for me. So maybe stepping away was the right thing. But with my next job, if I get one, sounds crazy, but I've got some things in works. Maybe I'm talking to some companies, stuff like that. It's like with my next job, I really need to sit down and just focus on my life outside of work, right? Focus on my wife, focus on me, focus on the podcast, focus on my YouTube channel, and focus on my goals. And that's it. The job has nothing to do with any of that. That job is purely there to pay my bills. But all my focus needs to go to something else. I'm saying all of this because that's something I've struggled with. I get like emotionally attached to my job or whatever. And so when things aren't going my way, it's harder for me, I think. And I just get to a point where it's like, if it's just not going my way, and it's not going my way for long enough, I just can't do it. And I end up like leaving, and then something changes, and then everything's better. And I'm like, shoot, what if I stayed, right? There's so many what if questions, what if answers and everything. But genuinely, I'd want to sit down for whatever decision I make next in life and say, you know what? I need to focus on myself, my goals, my dream board. That's my dream board right there. For the listeners, I'm pointing to my cork board that I have up on my wall. On there, it's stuff like some travel stuff. So like that's Disneyland. That's a baseball field. Really what it is just go see some sports. There's an airplane to show traveling. Tesla, FJ, I would love that. My wife's got some stuff where she wants a Peloton. She wants like a Louis Vuitton bag. That's pictures of rooms. I want a theater room in a house one day. That's the house right there with no debt. We want to eat and be healthy. I want a lot out of life. I've got goals. But then I like get so frustrated with my job that I can't just say nobody cares, work harder enough. Like I've already said it enough and I've just reached my limit and I'm done. And I need to work on that. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's just people's genuine ability to not care, and I just don't have that. Because like I said, I get like emotionally attached to the job, and I want the job. I want my company to do well. Whatever company I work for, I want it to be the best. And I suggest these ideas, and it's like, they don't like my ideas, I'm leaving. No, it's not like that. But if I suggest an idea, and if you can't give me a logical enough, a reasonable reason why, if the answer is just no, and you just say no because you don't like it or whatever, there's no reason, you just don't like it, I struggle. And that's just what I was dealing with, and I just had enough of it. Couldn't do it anymore. It was affecting my pay. It was affecting the outcome of my job. Like what I was going to get out of my job was not going to happen because my bosses were disagreeing with me and not giving me reasons that were logical enough. Right. So it hurt, and I just reached a limit where I was like, I'm done. I need to stop. But really, I need to figure out a way to have a job and care about it enough to be like, I'm going to keep it, but not care about it enough to where it's like, if it's failing, that I just like let it fail. Just like let it be. I don't know. I'm all over the place. I wanted this to be kind of motivating, but I've kind of noticed that I'm just kind of complaining or just pointing things out that are not so motivating about myself and how I want them to be motivating. But really what I'm trying to do with this is tell you guys my issues, right? Talk about areas of my life that I can improve on. And I wish I had an answer, but that's not really the case in every aspect in life, right? Not always going to have an answer to your problems. And as an adult, as a human, you need to figure those out, right? And of course, there are stuff online that can help you with that. But I'm going to reach out to you guys, right? Join the conversation down below. Talk with me about how you are able to play the long game. How are you able to stick it through no matter what and just put your head down and work? What helps you in those areas? Not everybody is built that way. Some people probably deal with the same issues I do. So I encourage you guys that deal with the same issues that I do to look down in the comments and see what people are suggesting, right? See what they have to say. Once again, if you guys are new here, this is not traditionally how our podcasts go. They're normally about an hour long. I'm going to end this a little bit shorter. But I also normally have my co-host, my brother, Johnathan Buckhouse. But just with circumstances, that is not going to happen. We are going to try our absolute best to make sure that we will have a podcast for you guys next week of both of us. So we're going to try our best to make sure that happens. But I also enjoyed this time. I felt like it was, I don't know, I liked this. I like talking with you guys. So yeah, if you guys are new here, this is not traditionally how things run. Traditionally, we got that hour-long podcast, back and forth banter with my brother and I. It's a lot of fun. So if you guys did enjoy this video, please drop a like, comment down what makes you play that long game, and subscribe to see future content. I love you guys, and I will see you guys next week with another podcast. Peace.